Hello, today I want to talk to you about the chat functionality in Zoom. Before we get into the actual meeting space to see the chat in action, I'm going to actually sign in first to clemson.zoom.us and show you what some of the settings are. Once you sign in, you'll click on Settings, and then if you click on In Meeting Basic, you'll find that it'll take you right to the area that you need to know about for the chat. So by default, the chat is turned on and it allows meeting participants to send a message visible to all participants. There is the capability now for you to be able to prevent participants from saving the chat. So if you wanted to turn this feature on, you can. If you want to have a private chat, you can also have that setting turned on. That setting is turned off by default. For faculty who are teaching online, I encourage you to leave this setting on. Students oftentimes learn from each other, and if they miss something during a live chat session or a live presentation that you're doing, they'll ask another participant in the chat before interrupting you in class. So I encourage you to leave this functionality on, but again, this is completely up to you. You can also have the chat history saved automatically. This is turned off by default, but if you wanted to turn it on, you can, and it will save the file after the meeting starts. You can also choose to disable the file transfer option. I'll demonstrate this functionality when I show you the chat in just a second. If you want to limit what kind of file types that your students can send you through the chat or that can be sent through the chat, you can enable that here. That way no large files like zip files can be sent. Okay, now that we've reviewed some of these settings, let's jump into the chat in a meeting and see what it looks like. So now that we've actually reviewed the chat settings, let's see what the chat looks like within the meeting space. You'll click the chat button at the bottom of the screen. You'll see the chat that has already occurred. You'll see the chat that is occurring privately to you. And then you can respond to private messages as well by selecting the specific person you want to discuss a question with and responding. Sometimes there's a need to share files with your students. Please note that this functionality does not exist in the private chat. You have to be in the Everyone channel in order to be able to attach a file. There are a couple of different ways to share files with your students. The first is to open your Windows Explorer or your Finder. Select the file you want to share, and then simply drag and drop it into the chat, and the file will begin uploading. The second option is to click the File button and browse on your computer for the file that you want to share. Select the file and click Open. Now the people within the meeting space can click on that link and will allow them to download the file you've shared with them. You can also, as we discussed, allow people to save the chat history. So if they click Save Chat, it will save the chat on their local computer, and they can click Show in Finder, which will bring up a Finder window with the chat selected so that they know where they can find it. It will only save it to the current moment in time, so if you want this to be saved for the historical purposes of the entire meeting, you would want to click that one last time before you exit out of the meeting. This concludes my demonstration of the chat window.